What if I told you that the most powerful leadership tool that you have is not your rank, your title, or even your experience? The key to building strong, resilient teams is how you coach and mentor across generations. Get it right, and you unlock innovation, trust, and long-term influence. But get it wrong, and your team stays divided and stagnant. So the question is, are you leading for today, or are you preparing leaders for tomorrow? Hi, and welcome to the Everyday Diplomat. I'm Michael Forrest, a retired Marine Sergeant Major, former U.S. diplomat, and someone who spent over 20 years leading high-performing teams through crisis, conflict, and constant change. From combat zones to corporate boardrooms, one truth has stayed the same. Leaders who know how to coach and mentor the next generation, they don't just create strong teams, they create teams that actually endure. They leave behind more than just results. They leave behind leaders who are ready to carry the mission forward. In this episode, we're breaking down the difference between coaching and mentoring, how each one shapes the next generation of leaders, and how you can use both to build unity across generations. You know, I find that when people talk about developing leaders, they often use the words coaching and mentoring as if they mean the same thing. They don't. And if you're a leader who wants to make a lasting impact, you need to understand the difference. Coaching is performance-driven. It's focused on the here and the now. A coach helps someone sharpen specific skills, overcome immediate challenges, and improve performance in measurable ways. Think of a coach as somebody who sees where you are today and then helps you get better right now. Mentoring is development-driven. It's about the long game. A mentor doesn't just fix today's problems. They help you see the bigger picture, ask better questions, and grow into the type of leader who can face tomorrow's challenges. A mentor shares wisdom, perspective, and lessons learned over years of experience. Both are incredibly powerful, but they're not interchangeable. Coaching without mentoring creates short-term improvement, but no real depth. Mentoring without coaching gives vision without execution. Great leaders use both. And here's the key. Neither coaching nor mentoring belongs only to one generation teaching another. The best teams thrive when wisdom flows down and innovation flows right back up. Experienced professionals can coach younger leaders on judgment and decision-making, while younger professionals can mentor upward by sharing new tools, cultural awareness, and fresh new ideas. When you combine the two, you create resilience, trust, and unity across your entire organization. So, as we go deeper in this episode, keep this distinction in mind. Coaching sharpens performance. Mentoring builds perspective. And together, they prepare leaders for challenges today and prepare organizations for the success of tomorrow. But before we go deeper, let me pause for just a quick reminder. If leadership content like this resonates with you, I'd encourage you to subscribe and like this channel. At the time of this recording, we have over 100 videos here, a mix of full-length episodes just like this one, and shorter clips that tackle specific leadership challenges. We've also built curated playlists designed to help you focus on the areas that matter the most, whether that's leading through crisis, building trust, or developing your own influence. And here's the important part. Next week's episode is all about adapting your leadership style to different teams. Every leader faces that challenge, and I'll share proven ways to help you adjust without losing who you are. So if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss it. Some of the most pivotal moments in my career came from mentors who took the time to invest in me. They weren't always formal arrangements. Sometimes it was a senior leader who pulled me aside after a tough situation and asked a question that made me rethink my approach. Other times it was someone who modeled calm under pressure when everything around us was pure chaos. Those examples stayed with me longer than any formal class or manual that I ever read. Here's what I discovered. Real mentorship is not about giving orders or laying out a step-by-step plan. It's about presence. It's about listening more than talking, and it's about asking questions that actually help someone think differently about a problem right in front of them. A mentor helps you expand your vision, not just complete a task. On the other side, I also learned just as much when I began mentoring younger leaders. In fact, some of my biggest growth moments came from those relationships. A young Marine once challenged me with the perspective that I would never in a million years have considered, and it really forced me to adjust how I communicated with the entire team. Another time, a new leader asked me why we always did things a certain way, and I realized that I didn't have a good answer, and that sparked changes that made our process better than I ever could have alone. Mentorship is never one way. When you mentor others, you sharpen your own skills. You're forced to articulate your reasoning, to explain your decisions, and then to reflect on what you've learned. And when you stay open to feedback from those that you mentor, you often discover blind spots that you didn't even realize were there. This is why mentorship is such a powerful tool for building the next generation. It creates a cycle of growth where experience meets curiosity and both sides leave stronger. Every generation gets labeled. Boomers, Gen X, Zennials, Millennials, Gen Z, each one comes with a set of stereotypes. Older generations often get painted as resistant to change. Younger generations get painted as entitled or too quick to move on. The truth is that those labels are lazy shortcuts. They miss the real story, which is that every generation brings something valuable to the table. The strongest teams that I've led, both in uniform and in business, were the ones where generations worked together instead of against each other. Experience and judgment from seasoned leaders combined with energy and fresh perspective from younger ones, timed, tested lessons mixed with bold new ideas and tools. That mix created resilience and innovation at the same time, and it's purely amazing to see in real time when this happens. One of the most powerful ways that this plays out is through reverse mentoring. It may sound counterintuitive, but some of my best lessons came from people far younger than I. A Marine who grew up with technology in his pocket could walk me through digital tools faster than any class could. An MBA classmate of mine who was in her 20s challenged me to look at global business issues with fresh eyes, and it shifted the way that I approach strategy. These were not moments where experience was diminished. They were moments where it was multiplied. Leaders who understand this dynamic, they stop trying to fix the next generation. They stop wasting time comparing who had it harder or who did it better. Instead, they create an environment where knowledge flows down and innovation flows up. They realize that growth is not linear, it's collective. When you bridge generations, you do more than just build a capable team. You build a culture where every person feels that their voice matters and where every perspective can help move the mission forward. That's the type of culture that wins in battle and in business, and also in life. And when we talk about coaching and mentoring across generations, it becomes clear that the first days in any new leadership role matter more than most people realize. Those early moments set the tone, build trust, and determine whether you're seen as credible or as someone who's just trying to figure it out. That's exactly why I created the First 30 Days. It's a course designed to help new and newly promoted leaders step into their roles with confidence. You're going to learn how to earn respect from day one, to avoid the mistakes that cost credibility and set the foundation for long-term influence. If you or someone you know is stepping into leadership for the first time, this is the tactical edge that can make all the difference. I'll leave a link for the course in the description below so you can check it out. A big mistake that I see leaders make is believing that once they reach a certain rank, title, or position, they no longer need any guidance from anybody. I can tell you from experience, nothing could be further from the truth. Some of the most important turning points in my career happened only once I allowed myself to be coached or mentored, even at the most senior levels. There were moments where the pressure was high, the stakes were real, and I thought that I had to shoulder it all on my own. Then a trusted mentor stepped in and asked me the right questions, and suddenly I could see the situation differently. The perspective often saved me from making rushed or short-sighted decisions that probably would have cost us in the end. Here's what I've learned. Leaders grow faster when they stay open to coaching. Humility is not weakness, it's a strength. A mentor's wisdom can cut through the fog of pressure and provide clarity when you need it the most. I once worked with a commander who had no problem admitting that he needed coaching. He would actively seek input from his senior enlisted leaders, from his peers, and even from junior officers and junior Marines who had specialized expertise in what it was that he was trying to solve. Watching him operate showed me that true strength in leadership is not about pretending to have all the answers. It's about building an environment where the best ideas can rise to the surface, no matter where they come from. And guess what? You know what that ended up doing? It ended up building one of the best command climates of any unit that I've ever had the pleasure of being a part of. The next generation of leaders does not just need coaching and mentoring for themselves. They need to see their leaders actually model it. When they watch a senior leader remain open to learning, they realize that growth never stops. That's what builds a culture where curiosity and development are not just encouraged, but they're actually expected. Strong leaders never outgrow the need for coaching. They embrace it more, they seek it out, and they use it to sharpen themselves and their teams. Strong mentorship rarely happens by accident. In fact, it never happens by accident. I'm just going to tell you that. If you want to thrive in your team or organization, you have to be intentional. Too often, I have seen leaders assuming that mentoring will just naturally occur. In reality, without structure, the results are inconsistent and usually very short-lived if experienced at all. When I look back at the teams that developed the fastest, mentorship was built right into the culture. It was a number one foundation. It wasn't left to chance. It was part of the actual system from the very beginning. Here are a few practical ways to make that happen. First, go ahead and match people by their strengths and their growth areas. A good mentorship pairing is not random. It's about connecting someone who has a deep experience in one skill or perspective with someone eager to grow in that same exact area. Second, go ahead and set clear expectations. A mentor should know what role they play, and a mentee should understand what they can and cannot expect. This keeps the relationship from fading into just vague conversations that don't create an impact. And third, create consistent touchpoints. A one-time talk is not mentorship. Sure, it's enjoyable, but growth requires repetition. It's like growing a muscle. Even short check-ins every few weeks can build trust and then accelerate development. Finally, go ahead and combine coaching with mentoring. Coaching keeps performance sharp in the moment, while mentoring is going to provide that vision for the long-term growth. When both are present, development becomes absolutely complete. When you create systems like this, something powerful is going to begin to happen. People don't just get advice, they gain confidence, they feel supported, they see their progress, and then they become more willing to invest in others when the time comes. This cycle of growth is how organizations sustain leadership strength across generations. The next generation of leaders is ready to step up, but it's our responsibility to give them more than a title or just a task list. We have to build structures that help them grow into the type of leaders who can keep the mission moving forward long after we're gone. That's the whole point of leadership here, right? To build the next version of us who's going to carry on that tradition of building another leader. Don't forget that. If you're serious about sharpening your leadership influence, I want to invite you to join me in my free bi-weekly newsletter, The Diplomat's Dispatch. Every 2 weeks, I set out practical lessons, insights, and tools that you won't find anywhere else across our platform. Think of it as a behind-the-scenes conversation, the type of advice I would give if I were sitting down one-on-one with you. I share lessons from my time in the Marine Corps, the State Department, and now as a consultant, helping leaders in business and in education. The goal is always the same, to give you strategies that you can put into action immediately. It's completely free. It's always going to be free. And it's a simple way to stay connected and keep growing between these weekly videos. The link to sign up is in the description below, and I'd love to see you there. All right, as we wrap this up, let's bring this full circle like any good storyteller should. Coaching and mentoring, they are not interchangeable. Good, you got it. But when they're used together, they create a powerful engine for leadership growth. Coaching is going to sharpen the performance right now, right here in the moment, while mentoring builds perspective for that long term. Both are essential and both matter even more when they flow across generations. It's kind of like that's the topic of this video. We covered how great mentors guide through presence and questions, not just instructions. We looked at how generational bridges multiply value instead of dividing it. We talked about why even senior leaders never outgrow the need for coaching, and we explored how intentional systems can turn mentorship from one lucky break into a cultural standard. The thread that runs through all of this and connects it all together is unity. Leaders who invest in coaching and mentoring are not just developing skills, they're building trust across generations. They're shaping organizations where wisdom flows down, innovation flows up, and every member feels empowered to contribute. The next generation doesn't just need advice. They need leaders who are willing to walk right beside them, share wisdom, and then keep learning themselves. When we embrace that role, we don't just prepare the people for the future, we actually shape the future itself. So my challenge to you is this. Go ahead and take a look at your team this week and ask yourself, who are you coaching and who are you mentoring? And just as important, who's mentoring you? That simple reflection might reveal the next step in your own growth and in the growth of those that you have the privilege of leading. As always, thank you so much for joining us today. If you watch this far, it either means that you're already subscribed to this channel or that you just discovered that you are a perfect fit to hit that like and subscribe button and join the Everyday Diplomat team. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you in the next one.